Welcome, everyone. I am not going to say a lot. I don't think we have to say a lot about today. All I can say is I grew up, I am a New Yorker, and that's all I have to say about today. In the 24 years that I have been here, I've always marveled at the quality, the talent, and the humanity in this community. And how can we not showcase Teri Scott's work? It's not only appropriate for today, but it is a way for us to never forget. We must go on, we move forward, but we must always remember. I am going to turn the mic over to our mayor, Joe Rasco, who will open up the program for today.
Good afternoon and welcome. Today, we gather to honor and remember the lives lost on September 11, 2001. Though 24 years have passed, the memories of that day remain vivid. The shock, the grief, and the profound sense of loss felt across our nation. Many of us still recall where we were when we first heard that devastating news. We remember the innocent men, women, and children who perished on that day. We remain inspired by the bravery of first responders and ordinary citizens who ran toward danger. We also honor our own courageous Key Biscayne Firefighters, like Ron Herbal, who answered the call and went to the towers to assist in the recovery effort. In remembering that day, we also reflect on the spirit it inspired. Acts of determination and compassion shone brightly, reminding us that hope and humanity endure. The lessons of September 11 continue to guide us in our daily lives, shaping how we care for one another and how we strengthen our community. Here in Key Biscayne, we may be far from where the attacks took place, but we share in the remembrance and in the commitment to never forget. May the memory of those we lost inspire us to live each day with purpose, with kindness, and a commitment to one another. God bless Key Biscayne. And thank you, Teri, for all you do.
My pleasure, as always. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My heart is overjoyed by it all. We had 5 firefighters, as you know, that went up to Ground Zero, and with bravery and courage. Deputy Chief Dan Feeney was there. Yes. Captain Jeff Liversedge, he went up also. Sitting next to him is Victoria Jackson Herbal. Her husband, Ron Herbal, went up to there as well. Chief Eric Lang is here. Am I missing anyone, Chief? Is Tanya here? Lieutenant Tanya Romero? Oh my gosh, I didn't see you, Tanya. Stand up. Thank you, Tanya, thank you. So how this came about, Ron Herbal, most of you know Ron. He's been on the Key forever, and he was with the volunteer fire department. So he came to me around I guess it was the 20th anniversary. He says, Teri, you need to know this story. And I said, I didn't know, I had no idea. He says, no, we need to document it. So Ron, Ron being Ron, he got everybody together at different times. I went to Ron and Victoria's home, Chief John Gilbert and Ron, and then I went to the fire station, saw Dan Feeney, Tanya, Jeff, at the fire station. We filmed over there. So there were several parts to it. So I finished part one. I was working on it. And then Ron came to me and he says, I got an idea. He says, why don't we go to New York? And he says, we'll film the museum there, the memorial and the museum. I said, great idea. So he got together with, Captain Robert Senatore. His family lived at the towers. And as another aside, there's a wonderful bench outside the fire department. He and his family donated that bench to the fire department, the village of Key Biscayne. So if you walk by that bench, take a look, say thank you, maybe sit and take a rest. On the day that we were to go to New York, Ron called me and said, you know, I'm not feeling well, I don't know if I'm gonna make it, but you guys go ahead. So I said, okay. So he called Robert. Robert said, okay. So I flew to New York. The next day, Robert and I met at the museum. I want you to know it's very hard to film yourself. If you don't have, the original idea was to be Ron and Robert going to the museum with memories. That wasn't to be. So Robert did an outstanding job, which you will see in a few minutes, of we just winged it and did it on our own. And I think it turned out really spectacular. And what do they say, you make lemonade? So we made lemonade. And 5 members of our fire department went to New York not knowing what they were gonna see, what was gonna happen. And they're so trained. And I think at that time there were 26 throughout the country. So we are so honored and blessed to have Key Biscayne Fire and Rescue part of South Florida Task Force 2. They are the elite of the elite. So thank you so much. This was my gift to Ron Herbal, my gift to Key Biscayne Fire and Rescue, and my gift to the village. So I hope everyone enjoys. It's going to be on YouTube later on with thanks to the Community Foundation, and pass it on because I think it's really worth watching. So if we're ready, and you'll see Robert Senatore in a bit. Thank you. Well, that's the fabulous 5.
Hey, Key Biscayne, our brothers and sisters at Key Biscayne Fire, about to take you through the 9/11 Museum. The members that came up here, John, Ron, Jeff, Danny, Tanya, I love you guys all. You were always good to my mom and dad when they were around, so enjoy the bench that's there for our, I'll see you soon. Welcome Key Biscayne Fire, my family down south, Danny, Jeff, Tanya, John, and of course Ron Herbal. Welcome to the National 9/11 Memorial Museum, bringing me back a long way back, unearthing some memories that I've tucked away and they're emotional. But this is good to come here, and I recommend anybody to come here. September 10th, it was a beautiful day. And we had no idea what was going to happen the next day, but September 10th, I was at a function for a fundraiser. I got called to work overtime in Squad 18, which is on the east side of Manhattan. One of our special operations companies said, I kind of need you for something that night, would you mind? I said, well, you're the boss, you call and cancel my overtime. So he did, and I had to be at work the next morning. Needed to him to take a little money out of my pocket overtime, but the next morning we were going to work like you normally do. You stop at a bagel store or a pastry shop, because you don't go into a door with your hands. You always enter the firehouse with your elbows, carrying something to eat for the guys who just work 24 hours. So I never listened to the radio in the morning. I used to listen to a CD player or something, because I just figured I want to hear enough about what's going on in the world. I don't want to hear about it now. And I didn't know. I was driving to work. I get there around 8:15 in the morning. When we got to our company that morning, the rigs were both gone on another call, and they were delayed getting back. And while we were waiting to switch places with the crew on board, this all started happening. When we get there, the trucks are gone. You open the door, and there's 11 pairs of shoes. Those guys are on a run. 11 guys, 5 in the engine, 6 in the truck. It's very poignant now looking back. And you see the spare equipment and where the rigs usually are, and cups of coffee and still steaming and half-eaten breakfast, the newspaper open, half a crossword. All these little things don't mean anything until you go and realize, and I might not see these guys. To sit there, and then we turn the TV on in the kitchen, like, holy God, look at this. We didn't even know. We walked in, and did you see this? So obviously we went upstairs, we got into the locker, got all the extra tools. We threw it in my truck. Originally we were gonna take my pickup, but then one of the guys, Charlie, said, no, hell with that, we're stealing a bus. The bus pulled up and told everybody got to get off. And the bus driver was more than happy to go with us, but he said, you don't want to go where we're going, so he got off. And we stole a bus, so handcuffed me. But anyway, we got to Manhattan, but we were delayed going through the Midtown Tunnel because they thought maybe there'd be a bomb in there. This was a terrorist attack. Well, one building, all right, it was an accident. Second building, something's up. The state troopers were like, we got to check before you come through here. And we were trying to figure out how to turn a bus around on the LIE if you're from here. Yeah. But then a deputy chief pulled up. I still don't remember his name, but he wasn't in his uniform. He was just like, guys, go back to your firehouse. We're the FDNY. We don't just run in because we see something. We're not like a moth to a light. We have to protect the rest of the city. Things are still going to happen in the city like every day. And he had a point, but we didn't listen. We took the bus and went down to BQE, got to the Brooklyn Bridge, and everybody was walking from Manhattan, so we couldn't get through. People get out of the way for a fire truck, but for a bus, not so much. They figure, screw it, you know. It's New Yorkers. Yeah. We're strong people. But we got to the west side, to the Stuyvesant School. We parked there, got off, and then we were walking and watched the last building fall. Once we walked into the scene, all we could hear is the mask and the pass alarms going off in the rubble, our equipment, knowing that they're attached to firefighters, and we started digging. Fortunately, a lot of them were found to be just abandoned masts sitting still. But we did eventually, days later, come across members of the force. It went on for a while, some guys we never found. But in the debris, it was overwhelming because we didn't know where to start. And he said, just pick a spot. We came across a lot of things, nothing of importance, just digging and finding personal belongings of people, equipment, and some remains. But we came across a large piece of the airplane, one of the engines smoldering. We didn't recognize it at the time, it was just something burning. We put water on it with a can. But as we moved in and got closer, the concern for other buildings, because they're still standing and hanging over, we had to be careful. So, you know what, at that moment, I don't remember what I was thinking exactly, but I remember my lieutenant saying, man, I thought we were going to make a difference down here. And it wasn't that feeling. There was nothing we could do. And then later on, Building 7 fell and almost caught us. When we weren't paying attention, it was almost 4 hours later, we were standing right under it. And somebody said, hey, there must be people up there. The glass was breaking. And we're like, we searched that, how'd they get in there? And then it turned out that was the building starting to fall. And when we looked up, it started twisting, and the windows started breaking. It started coming down right at us. And we ran fast. It started to come at us and then stopped and fell that way. I don't know why I'm here, but this might be that reason, who knows. Through the grace of God, it started to fall at us and stopped and tilted forward and fell forward into the ground as opposed to on us. And that's something I'll never forget. So God's hand was over me that day. Usually the chauffeur sits right here. He would probably have his helmet hanging there, his bunker pants and his coat. It's a transverse compartment. We have longer pieces of equipment we'd stick through here. Usually over the jacks right here, you have the airbags. Actually, it says it right there, airbags. Each company puts their equipment the way they want it. So, but usually the chauffeur's compartment's the front one. This would have been the crew cab right here. This is the handle they would use to climb in the stairs, which is the step right here. The door would be right here. There'd be 4 seats facing forward. And then around here would be the chauffeur's seat. And there'd be an engine compartment between them. And the officer would be sitting on the other side. That's where the battery box would be. But this is the part that was under the building and was burning. Ladder 3 was just one of the original numbers. So we go up to, like, I was in ladder 152 and his ladder is 103. And we have 310 apparatus in the city of New York. At least 75 of the apparatuses that didn't come out of it. The curse of the smoke that we were breathing, the dust. The dust was like breathing Drano. It's bad. I have ground glass in my lungs still. I have to get checked for. I have a protein in my blood. I don't know where it came from, but the guy's been good to me. So far I'm all right, but who knows? The dust was ground glass and cement. We ran for our lives. My lieutenant who saved my life that day still has non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, directly attributed to the stuff we breathed in that morning. Patty Brown, I knew him personally. One of the most dedicated guys I've ever met. Like I said, a legend on the fire department. Anytime there was a major alarm through my career, somehow his face popped up on the news or a story about him and his crew. But Captain Brown has been a legend on this job forever. Numerous medals of valor. You see what's on my chest, it's nothing. His one's like, well, you see the 343, that's with one star means you were here when the collapse happened. If you have 2 stars, it means you had been in the building before the collapse and during the collapse. If you have no stars, it means you got here within 24 hours. This is a picture of Captain Brown. Oh. Ironically, this was about a month prior to 9/11. He was a legend on this job before September 11th, so I might get emotional again. He's the kind of guy you want to emulate. His professionalism, his drive. His radio transmissions we all heard him on the radio. Some of us were like, oh, there's Patty Brown doing this thing, But it says, I'm on the 35th floor, okay, just relayed to the command post. We're trying to get up there. Numerous civilians at all stairwells, numerous burn injuries, all coming down. We're trying to send them down to you first. Apparently, this is all above the 75th floor. I don't know if we've gotten there yet, okay? 3 truck, we're still heading up. Okay, thank you. Command post to ladder 3, command post to ladder 3, get out of the building now. Captain Patty Brown responded, this is the officer of ladder 3. We refused the order. I am on the 44th floor. We have numerous and too many burn injuries with us. We are not leaving them. Moments later, the building fell. So these transmissions are actually on tape. You could hear them, you look it up, but that's the kind of guy he was. So I'm emotional a little bit. I come here and it seems like yesterday and God's hand was over me that day. This is the worst of humanity and the best of humanity in one building. It's hard for me to come here. I realize there's people like you that need to hear these stories, the guys that aren't here to speak for themselves anymore. And maybe that's my purpose of surviving. I don't know. I realize I look down at my wrist and I see this every day and I realize that I could have been one of these guys, 343 of them. There's never a bad day. You might be stuck in traffic. That traffic might have saved you from being here when this happens. You just can't, just look at things you do every day when you're pissed at this or this guy just cut me off or whatever. Really, he stopped you for 3 seconds, right? That's just how I live. And like I said, my wife, sometimes she gets mad at things and I'm not mad. And she's like, what's wrong with you? I said, life's different through my eyes. And sometimes you need to be reminded of that. It's good to come here. I mean, I'm glad you guys are here. That's the reason it's here. And it just brings me right back. I mean, I still smell that smell. And when you see the pictures on my face, I even look at myself. I said, what was I thinking? My nickname was T-Bob at the time because I was in the truck. T for Rob, whatever. There's worse names to be. Yo, T, I thought we were going to make a difference down here, and I agree. Where do you start? And we just started digging. And you could hear the pass alarms going off in the rubble below us, and we couldn't get down there. So we dug down. We just found unoccupied equipment. But later, as we searched months in, we started coming across our brothers and sisters, and that's something hard for me. The first guy to pass away was Danny Sir of Engine 216, and they responded in, and he said, be careful, there's debris, talking to his crew, and a body fell from the sky, landed on him, and killed him. And they picked him up and removed him to a safety place, to maybe an ambulance, and because they were there doing that, the building came down behind them. So they credit him with saving the company, in a way. So this is an homage to all the search dogs. So the story about Dan and the guys, this is part of their team, some of the dogs. Florida Task Force 2. That was Marley. The dog's name was Marley. Miami-Dade right here. One night I was searching and I saw the spray paint that said Florida Task Force. So I knew that it included Miami, Key Biscayne, and I know Dan and Ron and the others were part of that task force. So I walked over and asked if anybody was from Key Biscayne. So, because my companies at the time lost everybody that was working that day, and I had transferred from there. I was a blur for me, but it was really quick because I got up here quick. It allowed me for a moment to forget what we were here for. When I realized that I have to tell my parents I'm okay. It's amazing when you look back, you say, well, why didn't I think to do that? The cell phones weren't working. The towers were the antennas of the city. So there's a task force in the world. When the world has a problem, New York City and other departments across the country send trained personnel, specially trained. I was one of those members for a brief time, and so I got to know some of the guys in other departments. But Ronnie was one of the guys up here, and when I ran into him in the pile, Danny Feeney is one of them. He's my brother now, but he gave me a hug and he cried, and he said, "I'm looking for you in the pile, not on it." The company I had used to work for has got wiped out, and he thought I would be there. So he said, "I don't want to go home and tell your mom I couldn't find you." So now I'm the godfather of his daughter. So it's great. Can't make this stuff up, but so say a prayer for Ronnie. He's having a tough time. But other than that,
thank you for your service.
thank you for stopping to listen. I was kind of corny, I know, but
No.
it's tough to be politically correct sometimes, but
No, we need to hear
I don't care.
Yeah, no, we need to.
Thank you. Even in the disaster, there was humor found too. I mean, plus you got to make humor in things. You know, we see the worst things and things that I've seen nobody should see. This was a bad day, but some guys get a tattoo. I'm too much of a chicken. So. I said I'm going to get a tattoo over here somewhere. It says FDNY retired. I figure when I'm an old, cranky old man in a nursing home, someday someone will be nice to me because I was a fireman. Not some old guy just,
See it there, not
I don't want coffee. I want chocolate milk. Whatever. Life's beautiful. Just go home and reevaluate your day every day and just realize that things that are stressful aren't as important as you think sometimes. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to do this. No, no problem. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Just get paid the waiter upstairs. No, I'm just kidding.
Come on, firefighter dinner.
Thank you. In here, brother. That's what it's about right there.
Got it.
Where you from?
Farmington, up in near Rochester.
Yeah. Yeah, it's okay. We're safe.
All right.
Picture two.
I do.
See, this job sucks. There you go.
Love you, brother. Good to meet
Be
you.
safe.
man.
God
Thank you.
bless. I always tell people, you see that fire truck coming or going, they're either going to risk their life or they just did. They said the bravest day to be a fireman is the day you sign your name on that application. So I take tremendous pride having this on my sleeve. And when I retired recently, it was a difficult decision. As my chief said, you were one of the best that I've worked with. That patch on your sleeve doesn't have to be there to realize who you are. That patch is always going to be there. So these stairs are exactly where they were that day. There was an escalator next to it. The damage you see wasn't from the collapse. That was during the cleanup efforts. Numerous people came either up or down this way to escape the destruction. This led you down to the lower level of the parking garage to find a way out to Vesey Street under the buildings. They call this the survivor's stairs. You're at the base of 9 stories down from the water. This is the base of the North Tower's antenna. You can see the base right here. This is the section we're talking about. Cell tower equipment and different equipment is part of the standpipe system that went all the way up to here. But from here up, it went all the way up. This is one of the elevator motors, express elevators that go from the base all the way up to the top floor. There was a huge fire that burnt underground for months. There's a lot of fuel that came down. When it hit, it ran down the elevator shafts and just lit up everything. It was about the 75th floor where it hit, and it just rained down to the lobby. I felt like I let them down. I figured I should be up there getting to them, but there's no way we can get there. Not just one of the sections. There was thousands of sections. They used to do them in 3 sets of beams with the plating, and that's the facade. So when you came up from the base of the building, they were large, and they curved toward the center, and then they became these the whole way up. They were bolted together. That's when the building failed. It failed by the bolts, so it came straight down, which it was designed to do. Otherwise, it could fall sideways. So you can see here in this picture, this is actually that. Every beam is numbered. So that's the point of impact. That beam took the impact of the plane. Only because of numbers, they knew what floor, they could figure out where it was. Hudson River is beyond us over there. If this wasn't built, the water would just pour in. And prior to building the building, they dug down with an esophagus wooden support, and they built this. And those are tiebacks into the bedrock. And it's keeping the, see, it's still wet. That's holding the Hudson River from coming through. Yeah. If that was to fail, we would have been flooded to lower Manhattan. That was a concern when the building fell, the integrity of this section of the wall. So before they could build all these footings, they had to build this to keep the water out.
This has been a huge concern.
It was a very big concern. So the Hudson River is probably about a quarter of a mile that way. But we're 9 stories below ground here. Oh, there's my number 1 right there. I put that there. That's has the names of all the guys I worked with. That's a number 1 in plastic. It's wood. It's actually clear plastic. It's a piece of clear Lexan. It's yellow. I put that there. I found it and I thought I'll put the names of Squad 1 members that are missing that I used to work with. The ground was up to here and I could stick it there. And that's why all those things were different levels of the soil as we dug. So Eddie Diatri's on there, capped all the guys right down the list. Steven Siller, Gary Box, Robbie Cordice, Matt Garvey, used to call him Gunny Garvey, Lieutenant Diatri, Dave Fontana. Oh, we all stuck stuff on there, yeah. Anybody that was here. Squad 41, Engine 214, 111. As we were here, we just wrote Squad 288. Danny Butler, he was from Squad 1, he passed away. That's the front piece from Squad number 1. We kept rolls of duct tape in our pocket in case we had to tape debris together. Yeah, because I was assigned to the cleanup effort in the month of June. It was the last month. It was just prior to them cutting this beam and taking it off. We all walked out. And the guys did that on the top of the beam because the soil was that high. And as we dug, it got taller and taller and taller until we got down to the bedrock, and that was the end. So here's the picture of it in the ground. Look. See, there's the wall we were looking at right there. But you can't see, there's a hole just above us. That's the tunnel coming through. There's subway tunnels. The place it was, they put it back in the spot. This is when we all walked it out, right here. We all stood at attention. This is the whole thing we were walking. This is the base of where we are right now. That's the beam getting hauled out. There was a big ramp to the hole. But I put that number 1 there. Here's a great picture to give you the feeling of how the final beam, here's the bath wall. This is exactly where it stood when we took it out. This is the footprint where it was. They just changed the base of it. They put a new bolt base on it, but this is where it was in the building. You couldn't buy an American flag back then. And that's what the shame that the turmoil our country's in now, it's like people don't even like the flag. And I said, I can't believe you would think that way. But the flag remember the guy standing with the flag? That was taken off of a yacht. It was. But there's a picture on my own coat. I'm going to show you here. I sewed an American flag onto my coat while we were down here searching. There was American pride there. And when President Bush came down and said all the things he said, it gave us pride. Derek Jeter and a couple of the Yankees came down and spent time with us. Derek's exact words when I said, Mr. Jeter, would you mind if I got a picture with you and your autograph? He goes, sure. He says, I should be asking you for your autograph. That's the kind of guy Derek Jeter is. One of my favorite players of all time. Not because of that moment, but just because of who he is. Did it with class. Halligan tool and an axe. That's what we used to force doors. This was probably not their first piece. It was probably a spare one that was found in the rubble because the regular ones would have markings on them. They died with their tools, and as the building fell, their tools fell with them. Tools all over the place. Just after the collapse, you see my coat's covered with the dust. The other guy wasn't. He wasn't here during the collapse. Guys got together and looked through their cameras and said, oh, I get this over to him. And slowly we got our pictures over to each other. Because back then we didn't have the cameras like we have today, so we used to keep disposable cameras in our pockets. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we hug here. It's okay. I already had it a long time ago. Hey, where you from?
Minnesota.
Thank you for stopping. I appreciate it. Be safe. So you're seeing the bath wall, which is in the background, and that's the ramp we built to get down into where we are. And this was the last day we were all walking out. That ramp was built, yeah. That was so we could get equipment up and down as we dug. So it was a pile, and it got to be ground level, then eventually we got down to here. This is bedrock. You're seeing the base of the buildings right here. So there's nothing below here. And this is, we dug until we got to here. Because then we knew we searched everywhere. We didn't stop until we got to the bottom. 14th day of June, we walked out of here, and that was it. I walked out of here the last day. This is the base, the footprint of the South Tower and the North Tower. This is where they actually stood. This is the exterior wall, which is actually the supporting wall, the exterior part of the building. The interior is the core, which is inside. 110 floors of steel. So this is the actual footprint. It's from floor 93 through 96. Piece of the facade, the lighter steel. The center steel was called core steel, it was heavier. So these beams were off of these beams. When they went up, it turned into these smaller beams on the way up. You see the depth here? That's what you're seeing in the left corner there. That's what you're looking at right here. That's what I'm putting in the base that they've built up from here. It was landfill from the soil they dug out to dig this hole to put this foundation in. What's below here is actual bedrock if you look down. That's the bedrock. It was leveled and then cement slab, and then they built from there to support the weight of 110 stories of steel. Yeah. We didn't stop till we got to here. Because then we knew there was nobody else to find. We didn't stop. We didn't find everybody. People just never came back. No more digging, that was it. Times you think with politics and things that you think they get to a point where that's good enough, that's it, let's get out of here. No, we took every ounce of dirt out of here because it could have been DNA of someone we knew or didn't know, it doesn't matter, we don't know. You'll probably have to edit this part out, but I mean, you know, guys are golfing or in the woods, you go take a leak, you pee against a tree. We didn't even do that here. We walked all the way out. 43 of my personal friends never came back. If you notice the skyline of Manhattan, you have Midtown, you have the lower town, and then the lower buildings in the middle is because bedrock is so far they can't build tall buildings there. That's why Midtown is tall and lower town is tall, but the middle is shallow because it's so deep to bedrock it's not worth digging down that far. Right, that's why. The core strength of these heavy beams here, what you're looking at right there. And then the core of the building was where the strength was. The beams in here were almost 9 inches thick. It's called a grillage is what they call it. It supports the majority of the weight. There's a picture, a newspaper article showing Ladder 118 responding over the Brooklyn Bridge to Manhattan. This is the door from their quarters that someone painted a mural, they removed it and brought it here. Their apparatus came through these doors responding. A little side note, the actor Pete Davidson's father was one of the members who died that day, Scott Matthew Davidson. He was on Saturday Night Live. If you look it up in the internet, Ladder 118's final run, you'll have a picture of them going over the bridge with the towers burning in the background. They knew what they were going into, and they never returned. Actor Pete Davidson, he was 5 years old that day. He's a big helper with the 9/11 family and community. So it shows the spirit of what we do. So this is the base of what you're seeing here in the picture, the arches. It goes from a single to a triple. That's what you're seeing right here. So this is the base. It was a lot longer going down to, remember the bedrock pieces we saw down there? Well, that would have led down to there, but it's cut. And this is the different floor level, subfloor 1, subfloor 2. And then eventually that's a ground level up there. That's what you're seeing here in the picture. And this globe survived. It's around here somewhere. You're seeing the core of the building where the elevator shafts are. These are the windows that people would have been waving out of. And then between here and here was a floor. So each floor was like that all the way up. It's called core construction. So the core is the strength, the outside is a facade. We're trained in hazardous materials, we're trained in collapses, we're trained in confined space, we're trained in all kinds of emergencies, floods, swimming, water. I ended my career as a captain on a fireboat because that was just where my career took me. But it's all part of Special Operations Command called SOC. The guys that came up here were their best trained firefighters. Collapse, hazardous materials, whatever their specialties are. I was honored to be part of that team for New York City.
The task force, federally funded, the most extensive set of equipment when it comes to structural firefighting with cameras and acoustical information, dogs, engineers, doctors. The system nationwide is set up so that each of these task forces with the same equipment, the same number of personnel, with the same expertise. You weren't dealing with somebody new. You were dealing with different faces, but you knew that their training level and their equipment level was the same. Because of the circumstances, the Key Biscayne was one of, I believe at the time, 20 or 26 teams around the country. We had been activated before for hurricanes, and it was very necessary that we trained more frequently and we trained in structural collapse.
This to me was the biggest deployment of everybody ever. We'll talk about forever. It brought a lot of sadness, but it brought a lot of friendships and bonds. I have friends from Milwaukee, Florida, everywhere you go, I know people. In the fire service, we're family. And the people that came up from Key Biscayne are very special to me, so. And they know who they are. It's hard and easy at the same time. The pride that I have for being here and the memories I have will always be with me. It doesn't define who I am, but it's a part of who I am. I like to walk around once in a while, look at the names and look for my friends' names. And I thank God every day that I'm not on that list. I have a reason to be here and I'm trying to live my best and be a good guy. And they had all the shirts and stuff on here. I'm looking for people. I'm missing my people. All was on this fence. Have you seen? There was shirts, everything hanging here looking for people. I stayed here for about 3 weeks straight. We slept at St. Paul's one night in the pews. The scratches, if you go there, are still in there from our equipment. All of what we do is our job to do it, and plus our fallen brothers were in that rubble. And as time went on, we realized the chances of us finding them alive were starting to go dim and dark. There's actually a photograph of my brother and me at St. Paul's weeks later. He was here, we took a picture together. He told me later it was his mission to make sure I was emotionally okay. He came to find me. Family knows I wear it on my sleeve pretty much. My family is everything. Out of the dust, a year of ground zero. See the debris in the background. But read the statement. Pearls, in my mind, will be heaven's outpost. By entering through the gates out front, one can leave behind the terror and destruction that leaves you with feeling of loss and find a place where everyone has a smile. Firefighter Robert Senatore, FDNY. That's me. It's inside. If you go inside, it's hanging on the wall. It was all dust. It was like 4 inches deep around here, and cars were just stuck, and they started bringing debris out from the pile and putting it in the side streets. Police cars and burnt fire trucks and things, and support vehicles came in, cranes were coming down these roads. But here was always nice. The second night we were here, we just came out this way to get away from there for a while, wash our faces. We went to the church and it was open. And that's when I went inside to take a break and realized I could sleep on the pew. And when you sit there and you go inside the pew, there's scratch still from our gear. And they left it that way. But there was a book, What Does St. Paul's Mean to You? And that statement I just explained to you is what I wrote in the book. And I guess they liked it and they took it out and made a pamphlet with my name in it. And there's a sign inside the church that has that saying if you go inside. One of the good things, a couple days in, members of Ladder 6 were rescued in the stairwell. They were helping a wheelchair-bound woman down, and they couldn't get out quick enough, and the building fell. They found them. They realized that they were in the only place that they could have survived. Above it, they were gone. Below it, they were gone. That lady saved their life because of their slow exit, and all 6 of them survived, Captain Jonas. So that's an amazing story. So, when we found those guys, we thought maybe there's others, but as time went on, we realized that wouldn't be the case. So. So these are the actual where the building stood. This is the size of the buildings. So when you see how tall they are, realize how skinny and small they were. Having the names of everybody involved brings us all together as a family. Not standing out saying he was a fireman, he was a this. Everybody's mixed together here. It gives me great peace to sit here and stare in there. Areas downstairs where we were looking, and you saw that. You asked what that was? That was the base of this. You were looking at it from the bottom. You saw around the footprint. This is the footprints right below us. You saw the corner of this building, the fountains. So you see it from inside the building. So when we went inside, we went downstairs and we were over here. Welcome. Welcome to New York.
Thank you. Hi, thank you.
And if you have a star, you were here when it collapsed. If it has no star, it means they were here within 24 hours. So when you see a guy dressed like this, that's what you go, yeah. So she's doing a story about a group of guys from Florida that came up, I became friends with, and now they're telling a story 20 years later. I'm the godfather of one of their kids, and another one of them is battling cancer pretty bad from the toxic stuff he climbed around in. So
You were the real hero.
nah.
We saw it live
Listen,
on TV. I was in live.
I was the luckiest guy to have this job. I tell people all the time I hit the lotto in my life. It was being born to my family, getting the job of my dreams, and walking out of here. I mean, I got issues I got to deal with, but I'm okay.
I live in Montreal.
Thank you for coming to the city. You're very nice. God bless. Be safe. So this tree was found amongst the rubble in the Trade Center collapse. It was removed during the recovery efforts. It was chopped down to just stumps, taken to the Bronx where it was nursed back to its health and brought back and placed back in its approximate location it was. So as they call this the survivor tree. It represents how the city's resilient and came back. Honey, it's a survivor's tree, brother. This is like you.
My name is John Gilbert. Back in 2001, in September, I was part of a team of Key Biscayne Firefighters. Because of the circumstances, we're being asked to go to New York and assist with search and rescue of New York firefighters and New York citizens. And at that point, I'm looking at something catastrophic, but certainly nowhere near what we were about to face. 5 Key Biscayne firefighters fitting into a system. The Key Biscayne was one of, I believe at the time, 20 or 26 teams around the country. Was a federally funded task force. The 5 members were part of a group that had been training together for quite some time. Where this all started is an earthquake in California. And the response to that were many lessons learned. And it was very necessary that we trained more frequently, and we trained in structural collapse. So that tied into what we were, again, not knowing for sure, but what we were going to be facing later on down the road. We gave them assurances and confidence that we would come back, it would be fine, but we had a job to do. And I'm proud of that also. I don't believe that we even had a dog with a scratched pad with all the work that we did in that rubble pile. It was myself, it was Jeff Leversedge, it was Ron Herbal, it was Tanya Romero, and it was Dan Feeney.
We were getting all kinds of live aerial shots to develop the plan for the day.
But from here, they would give us assignments and we would move as a squad,
Yeah.
and they would assign us to search different areas.
Sometimes they would think it would be real dangerous, and then they're worried about, oh God, we heard about asbestos. You know, things changed constantly.
Building 7 was still burning when we
That is the
when we
cool
got
part.
there.
There would be a map like this, and there might be one blown up to this area. So if we're working in this area, you can see a little more details. We do a 12-hour shift, discovered a body here, whatever. There might be more things here, and you give a transfer of command, and then he builds his 12 hours of search off what we discovered. The whole thing, they stressed this is a crime scene. Everything wanted to be captured. Any remains or personal beliefs were set in one thing, and construction debris, they were categorized separately.
These are our equipment tents. This debris pile is, as high as that is,
Yeah.
there was also a pit. To get down was to cut the steel beams and pull the beams out one at a time.
All the sub-levels of the World Trade Center.
Some of the hardest workers in the world, though, the construction workers, those people were amazing.
It was a very tight-knit group.
Yeah, they are.
You couldn't just be an iron worker and show up.
And we thought we were working hard at 12-hour shifts and 12 hours sleeping, but they were nonstop. I think they ended up coming from all over,
Primarily.
primarily from New York.
New York, New Jersey,
Yeah.
that
Do you remember
whole
the,
vicinity.
basically Army specialists? They shared space with us in our tent.
Because they had like super sensitive stuff that they were trying to recover.
Fire department and the New York Police Department always maintained command over the scene.
Yeah,
We were just there to work with them. It was never our scene.
that was a big deal, because a lot of times FEMA rolls in and we think we're the saving grace, and we weren't saving them. We were assisting them.
What do you guys think when you look at this picture?
Discuss.
If I sit here and look at it, some memories will come back, but I don't
Yeah.
think about it every time I walk past this picture. I've got enough to think about today. I always have special memories of when we were there. I don't think about that every day.
So I swear to God, I look at the clock every time it says 9/11 or the date, the date obviously,
Oh,
but
yeah.
anytime I see those numbers,
I frequently will look at either my truck,
Yeah.
it's either 9/11 or 11/11
yeah,
for some
yeah.
reason, and I don't even consciously look at it. Sometimes I just look at the clock and it's that time.
Day, tomorrow, and Friday.
By the church, right?
The little church.
When we got there, Jeff and I would go over there for coffee sometimes at night. First time, the whole cemetery was covered with concrete dust and papers up just to the top of the headstones. You could only see the tops. There was that much debris there. But the church itself was completely undamaged.
That's weird. That's not the first time that's happened. We've been on other deployments in Michael and stuff like that came through and wiped out a whole thing. I don't know. There's something to be said there.
I think everybody remembers where they were that day. We know that Ron Herbal suffered, and I thought about a lot of people that are not with us anymore, including Ron. And there are a lot of people that are suffering. We always think of the numbers 343. There's 343 firefighters that died that day. There were 71 law enforcement officers and a whole lot of civilians, almost 3,000 people. But since then, there's been more people that have been taken from us because of the suffering from cancers, from other illnesses, suicides. The whole mental health piece is regarding, responders, and I think in society today, it's a big deal. It was hard to watch this the first time, Terry. You did an amazing job in capturing this and the other video you did. Rob did a great job of expressing memories. good times, and obviously there were a lot of tears there. And the fire department gets a lot of recognition for this, and it just brings me a lot of memories. I did not respond up there. I was a firefighter at the time, and but I think I have a pretty strong connection with Task Force 2. Dan Feeney, Justin Connors, who's not here today, is one of our captains. They're still on the team. Jeff worked on the team until he retired. And I just want to kind of wrap up with this one piece, is that some people asked us, they say, why is Key Biscayne part of Florida Task Force 2? We have no business being part of that. People have told me that. And I got to tell you that the connection with that team was incredible. The sacrifice that these individuals and Ron made to be part of that team was significant, obviously. But to know that our men and women, those fire personnel that worked with Key Biscayne for so many years, now Justin Connors, and I believe there's some others that are working towards it, it's very important. Because when, at the time, Captain Feeney, Captain Jeff, when Ron, Tanya, when you all were on duty, I knew the level of training that you all had. And it really brought a lot of peace to me to know that we had that level, and it's something that I support. So to everybody that showed up today, to Rob, Terry, all the firefighters here, I just want to say thanks.
We were fortunate to be on the team. I know that everybody from our fire department wanted to go. Every firefighter in the country wanted to go. People, might say, sometimes people will say, oh, these guys are heroes, but the New York guys, those are our heroes. Somebody needs some backup here. I was fortunate to be with Rob on the night shift. He and I were on the same squad. And in the video, Rob talked about going to St. Paul. And Ron and I would go coffee there, so a special place in my heart for St. Paul's, of course, Ron. And we looked out for each other when we were up there. Dan and Tanya, day shift. Well, we were on the same squad, so she was busy. She was busy doing other stuff. Anyway, want to say, heart goes out to Ron and everybody else that had a hard time. And thank you all for coming.
Thanks for having us. I just wanted to comment on what Eric mentioned earlier, which is the benefit of participating in these teams. In addition to the federal government funding equipment and training, these three members, the amount of experience that they gain and bring back is invaluable, and it made choosing Dan, when I had the opportunity to fill the deputy chief's position, a no-brainer. And when things happen here in the Key, whether it's a storm approaching or what have you, the amount of exposure that Tanya, Jeff, and Dan have had in other persons' disasters is, you can't even learn that in your own career usually. I didn't go to 9/11. I got to go to Haiti, where over 200,000 people died, and to Katrina. But obviously 9/11 was a unique experience, and the three of them should be honored for everything that they did. And also, Dan, on anything that happens here, I have the utmost confidence in him, because I know the type of exposure and experience you pick up when you do these deployments. And it's not something you can pay for, it's not something you can teach, you have to live it. And it's people like that you have here. Tanya now is at the county and the emergency management office, so it's a lifetime of experience and people that should be respected and honored. So, yeah.
Hello, Robert. It's Victoria talking about the fact that, of course, we're remembering 9/11 today, but the fact that there's the task force, there's 26 task force across the United States. And it is amazing here in South Florida, we have task force too. And we have so many of our members on Key Biscayne, our little island, our little station, they're part of that. But all of our men and women of the fire department, the training they have, how fortunate we are, and how much I thank all of them for the service that they give us and continue. I know that Ron has helped many people, and I miss him dearly, and I thank all of you. I have my memories, but I have to let you know that these men and women, all of the Key has been very helpful. But the fire department, I know the brotherhood, sisterhood that we have, they're here for me, and they are here for all of you, and I can't thank them enough for their service. I do thank all of you very much, and I love you.
Thank you.
Having my parents be 1,800 miles away throughout the end of their lives and most of my life, it's always a fear as they age that what would happen if I wasn't there to help them.
The tremendous peace of mind knowing that you guys were there to keep an eye on everybody and know that they were in great hands gave me extreme peace, knowing that I wouldn't have to worry about, God forbid, you needed help. And you guys were there every time, right to their last ride in an ambulance. And it gives me extreme honor to call you family because they trusted you with their lives and they felt very confident. So the people of Key Biscayne are very blessed to have one of the finest fire departments in this planet. And my brother's still living in the towers, and he knows that. And he's very involved with you, Eric, and the family, the fire service. Chief Lang, watching you go through and do what you've done for that department. And now that you're the former chief and the new chief involved, it's going to take off in your path. But the work you've done should never be forgotten, that what you've done has made a difference in Key Biscayne and in the fire department in general. So I wanted to thank you as a civilian side.
Thank you for those words. I thought while I was here, and I don't know if most of you know this, but our mayor, Joe Roscoe, was the mayor in 2001. And I do recall that the council also supported the team going up to 9/11.
And I saw you guys dig in, and Ronnie is a tremendous man in my life. His kindness and his spirit travels on. They'll stay with you. It's part of Key Biscayne. He's part of the sand there on the beach. He's part of the city. He's part of the bees that fly around the whole town. You know, the fire truck, the antique fire truck, everything. It's a tremendous thing that you're going through the efforts to keep everybody together on this day. But each and every day doesn't have to be 9/11. When the bell rings, those doors are going to open and you guys are going to go out and do your fine job. Because I know if people of Key Biscayne and outside of Key Biscayne are well protected. And that's a big part of it is your efforts to build the department that you have now. And I know it's a team. I know it's a lot more and you won't take it because you're humble. But a lot of that is something that I've watched happen from the outside. So, you know, Danny and all the guys are family to me. You guys are all family and the neighbors. And thank you for the opportunity to be here part of this today. And I will make sure I have my flying papers back next year so I could be there every year. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, actually. Captain Senatore, it's an honor for me to be here. It's an honor for me to be here, Teri, to support you. And it's an honor for me to be here on Key Biscayne with all of you wonderful people. A couple of weeks ago, I had the good fortune of being in Shanksville, in PA. Our friends thought that we should visit the site where the plane crashed there. So I had the opportunity to walk the museum and to listen to phone calls from people on the plane. They called their loved ones one last time before they met their maker, so to speak. So my question is, you know, the pain is still there, but for you folks that were there, does it get any easier with each passing day, with each year? Do you find peace? Do you find tranquility? Does it get any easier? That's my question.
as each year passes on, the fact that the world doesn't fail to remember this day is important, but it's not about what we did or didn't do. It's about humanity. The day after the towers fell, you couldn't buy an American flag anywhere. It didn't matter. There was no more divisiveness in this country. Everybody wanted to be American and proud of the flag. And times have changed and things are getting a little, I don't want to be a politic guy here, but just the visual, it seems like the world has gotten so accustomed to terrorism and attacks and bad things happening somewhere else. And we just sit back and realize that it's not the same. But it's times like today when people take the time out to listen and remember. It's important for our younger people and our generations to really be involved. And they're doing things like this. It's going to build the next generation of firefighters and good people that are going to do good things. So does it make it easier? I still miss everybody that I worked with. It gets easier as time goes by. But this time of year, I always tell my wife that, she says, what are you going to do today? And I said, I'm just going to wake up and let God take me where he takes me, because he did that day and he brought me home safe. So, and I never know what it'll be the next time on 9/11. So, unfortunately, I'm not sitting there with you guys today, but I promise anything in the future I will be. Next year's the 25th anniversary, and it seems like yesterday still. And since I've retired, people say, do you miss it? And I said, you know what? I miss the clowns, not the circus. If that is a funny statement or not, but the guys I worked with and trusted my life with, and the gentlemen that are standing around you down there in that department, it's the same for them, that you know you're going to go put it on the line every day and that your brothers won't leave you behind, ever. So that's what makes it a team, and the trust, because politics goes out the window. What your beliefs are doesn't matter. The bell rang, someone needs our help, let's get to work, stop screwing around and go. And then when it's over, we'll have a few laughs.
My perspective, being a firefighter, and myself and Dan and Ron and Jeff and Tanya started on the same day. That was like 10 years after. Joe's got about 40 years in, and Terrence has got close to the same. As responders, you come in and there's a figurative backpack that you get when you get on the job. And every call you go on and every day of your life, you experience good and bad, and you put stones in that backpack. And the goal is you got to get out of the fire service while you can still carry that backpack, whether it's physical, mental. It's really hard. And I think the cumulative effect of decades of being a responder, you feel it. And when bad stuff happens, I think the weight of it is compounded. Task Force 2 was the second team on the site at Surfside. There was a lot of things about that building that were closer to home. It was people's homes instead of an office building. My brothers and sisters that went to any of those calls, any one of them, let alone both of them. And every deployment that they go on, they carry, and every call that our men and women go on, they carry baggage with them. And that doesn't go away. You don't forget that. So I think that's what that question made me think of. Ron was one of our early members of what we called critical incident stress management. And he was all active, involved with debriefings, and he was our chaplain. And he was very engaged in that. And Jeff took an extremely active role as that program matured and became peer support. And Jeff was our team lead for peer support. And basically that means that if I see something and I'm having a hard time, I want to talk to somebody, my peer, that's seen the same thing. And so that's something that has evolved. The mayor and I were just talking offline. And one of the questions that came up was, what has changed in the way that the team trained? What came to mind for me was safety and how you approach safety, but is there any other things that changed as the team evolved?
As these teams are sent, usually they're from the major cities from around the country. They're federalized assets, and this was obviously a unique situation that they went to. The nation's largest fire department. It was a very touchy situation to walk the fine line of respecting them. And as these federalized teams came in with firefighters from all over the country, the Florida Task Force 2 team was one of the first to be allowed to really go into the pile. A lot of them were given tasks in other places, and part of this team, without applying pressure or anything, They asked, hey, what can we do? And one of the requests was, well, build us some drafting tables so we can lay out plans and things like that. And that one little gesture, knowing how not to push one of the teams to become actively and deeply involved and deal with the human remains of the firefighters from New York. So when I say that Ron and the rest of the team members from Key Biscayne were at an elite level and were, as they trained year after year and responded to different events, were at an elite level of expertise that they would bring back here to Key Biscayne in their daily work. There's other lessons that made them even more effective in dealing with human beings. And I don't know, I mean, you were there for those things. I know Mike Nugent told me aspects of that, but that's a level of learning and exposure to deal with human beings that is, how do you learn that? You can't.
When we showed up, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, it was their, they didn't want help. But it was their file that they didn't want federal help, they didn't want anything else. So it was, we built some hose ramps, some very basic stuff because they were throwing people off the file.
You know, we show up with all our fancy gear, and they just looked at us like, not another bunch of yahoos that, you know, think they're gonna do our job for us. And by building the drafting tables, like you said, was the olive Cuban coffee. That was the olive branch that did get us access to the pile. They don't teach it at fire school. That's just a human thing.
In honor of my late husband, we did set up a Ron Herbal Scholarship. It is for the children and the grandchildren of the firefighters that have been part of Key Biscayne Fire Department. If you would like to donate to this scholarship, it would be wonderful. You can go through the Key Biscayne Foundation, and the scholarship is sent up under Ron Herbal Scholarship. Thank you.
In closing, I'm very proud of what you guys did today. Every year at about 8:30, we meet at the flagpole, and we were joined by the entire council, the honor guard for police and fire, the fire and police department, the chiefs are there, and we remember 9/11. And we raise the flag to full staff and lower it down in a ceremonial way. The ceremony usually starts at about 8:39, and it's usually over by about 8:50. So if you could find 11 minutes on 9/11 every year, go meet in front of the fire station. And the reason that that's so important, it's my personal commitment when I was there to make sure that this community never forgets. Thank you for today. Thank you for being here and everything you sacrificed and your passion. To Roxy and your staff, Todd, you all always do a great thing. Rob, my brother, from all of us here, thank you very much. Thank you very much.